The Little People's Village in Middlebury. Little People's Village, tucked away in the woods of Middlebury, a complex of crumbling doll-sized houses and odd structures next to the remains of a stone home. It's rumored to be the damned legacy of insanity brought on by the Little People. One of the versions of this story goes that back about a century ago, a man and his wife were living peacefully in Middlebury when she started seeing small fairy folk in the woods around their home. To accommodate these pixie-like creatures, she demanded her husband build a tiny village. As the years passed and the village grew, the enchantment faded into madness. The abandoned Smurf-scale town is all that's left to mark the couple's anguished demise. Another version of this story is that the man is living by himself in the stone home, heard the voices of the Little People who commanded him to build the village. Eventually, this tale goes that he was driven mad by the voices, which were now inside of his head, and killed himself. As such, many of the people who visit now claim that it's haunted by the spirits of the Little People, or the ghosts of those tormented by them. And the strong fields of negativity energy are around. Others claim that if you linger long enough, you can hear the voices of the Little People yourself, and that you too will soon be plunged into insanity. But that's not all. There is also a throne here, supposedly carved by the bewitched builder by request of the king of the Little People, and local legend has it that if you sit on this cursed seat, you will die within 7 years. The Wicked Witch of Monroe. Different from other witches, the story of Hannah Hovey, who apparently picked up the nickname Hannah Karana while she was still alive, doesn't culminate at the end of a hangman's noose or in the ashes around a stake. She lived a fairly long and comfortable life, dying of natural causes around the age of 77. But obviously, her life wasn't exactly ordinary, or she wouldn't have been known to this day for allegedly dabbling in the black arts. According to most accounts, her reputation as a witch didn't start until the death of her husband, Captain Joseph Hovey, an event with which Hannah was rumored to have somehow been involved with. The tale goes that one night, Captain Hovey went out for a simple walk and somehow toppled over a cliff, resulting in his death. Not believing that Captain Hovey could have been the victim of an unfortunate accident, whispers started that Hannah had somehow bewitched him, causing him to become so dazed and confused he had inadvertently fell to his death. Hannah, whose shrewish behavior apparently hadn't exactly endeared the others while he was alive, became even more loathsome after she became a widow. She often insisted that her neighbors give her free food and firewood, and if they didn't immediately comply, she relied on her witchy reputation to threaten them. When one local farmer's wife allegedly tried to deny her a fresh-baked pie, Hannah cursed her. So the story goes, and the poor woman was never able to bake again. It seems that Hannah kept a rooster named Old Boraz, which some suspected was her familiar. Shortly after the rooster crowed its last crow, Hannah told a neighbor that her end was also near. "My coffin must be carried by hand to the graveyard," she instructed, and I must not be buried before sundown. Hannah died the next day. It was snowing heavily. The locals decided that rather than follow her instructions, it would be easier to pull her casket along the snow in a sled. But as the procession started towards the cemetery, the coffin had come off of the sled and slid all the way back to her front door. They tried again, but met with more trouble. Rather than further incur the supernatural wrath of Hannah, they decided to just carry her to the graveyard. After much struggling, they eventually got her to her grave, just after sunset. Happy to finally be rid of her, they returned to Hannah's home, only to discover it completely engulfed in flames. Obviously, that only served to burn Hannah Karana, the Wicked Witch of Monroe, into their minds forever. Gardiner Lake. Gardiner Lake in Salem is known for many things. Its beauty, its excellent fishing spot, an entire house sitting on its murky bottom, and of course its mysterious piano music that seemingly rises from the depths of the water. So, how did a fully intact home get to the bottom of the lake? Apparently, way back in 1895, a family living on one side of the lake wanted to move their home to the other. Applying a little Yankee ingenuity, they decided to wait until the lake froze over so they could jack the house up, put it on sleds, and move it the shortest distance, which was straight across the ice. The only problem with that was they weren't able to get the house all the way across the lake in a day. So they just left it in the middle with the intention of coming back the next day to finish the job. Unfortunately, Mother Nature had a different plan and finished the move on her own, weakening the ice overnight, just enough to sink a portion of the house. Before it went all the way to the bottom, however, the family was able to get out many possessions, except for the biggest items: a stove, couches, and an upright piano. The house didn't sink right away. It actually floated on the lake surface for a few years before giving in to the inevitable. But it did eventually sink, finding its resting place 30 feet deep on the bottom of the lake, instead of the lake shore. To this day, people who have scuba dived in the lake report that parts of the house and furniture still remain intact, including the piano. The really weird part comes later on. Over the years, many people who have fished in the lake claim to hear odd, faint piano music. No one is ever really sure where it comes from, although most agree that the mysterious melodies come from below, from the piano, within the home, at the bottom of the lake. Guntown Cemetery. One of the oldest cemeteries in the area is the Guntown Cemetery in Millville section of Naugatuck, and dates back over 2 centuries to 1790, and features numerous headstones from the colonial era. A smallish plot, it is enclosed by a stone wall and has an iron gate, neither of which seems to be able to contain the relentless spirits alleged to roam this graveyard. Guntown Cemetery is a bit unique in the terms of haunting, in that there doesn't seem to be a particular well-known legend associated with the site to account for all the supposed high level of hauntings that occur here, other than it just being a very old cemetery. There are no tales of heinous crimes or tragic love stories. As for particular otherworldly phenomena observed here, Some claim to have heard random music and laughter of children. Others allege that they've seen a man carrying a lantern, leading a horse across the grounds, as well as a little boy playing with a ball, who just vanishes. Still, others have claimed to have glimpsed at a black dog that also quickly disappears. And many people who investigate here claim to have recorded orbs and mist, as well as numerous EVPs. The Warrens, the famous demonologist couple, have also visited Guntown and unsurprisingly deemed it officially haunted. Many who trek here at night suggest that there are strong feelings of dread, unexplainable drops in temperature, and just a general sense of being creepy. So if you are looking for a ghostly encounter, Guntown Cemetery seems to be the perfect place to go. Dudley Town is called the Village of the Damned and is one of the most mysterious ghost towns in America. But that's not entirely accurate. In the 700s, a group of farmers settled on an area near Cornwall, Connecticut, but they never actually made it an official town. The Dudley family owned the land and allowed the people to come and live there for a time. Unfortunately, the land was not good for farming. By the 1800s, the settlement was abandoned. According to legend, if you venture into the ruins, you're warned against taking anything home with you, unless you want a curse placed upon you and your family. The story regarding the cursed land began way back before the reign of Henry VII, when Edmund Dudley was beheaded for being a traitor to the crown. Ever since, the Dudley family was believed to be cursed, a curse that would follow Edmund's descendants from the old world to the new. However, local historians dispute this claim that the Dudley family was cursed. To date, they haven't been able to link the Dudley Town founders to their old world descendants. Over the years, it's also been reported that two women, Mary Shenney and Harriet Clark, went insane in Dudley Town and committed suicide. In fact, Clark allegedly claimed that she saw demons before she died. Again, local historians dispute this, arguing that Mary actually died of a lung disease and had never actually visited Dudley Town. Likewise, Harriet actually committed suicide, but in New York. But why was the settlement completely abandoned? Well, in addition to the fact that the soil wasn't fertile enough for farming, it's been theorized that the soil may have been contaminated by lead. After the settlement was abandoned, the Dark Entry Forest Association reclaimed the land and planted lots of trees. Over the years, the trees have overtaken the ruins left by the settlers. Today, Dudley Town is on private property, and access is forbidden. Hikers near the area have claimed to see orbs, and that there's a very suspicious quiet in the area, meaning that the wildlife in the woods rarely make noises. Ghouls, I hope you enjoyed this episode, this video. I'm sick. I apologize if I sound terrible. If you follow me on Twitter, I was in the hospital and it's just been like a hell of a fucking week. So here you are. I'm sorry it's not like 20 minutes like the last ones have kind of been. It's only like 15. I apologize. But don't forget, I also have a Patreon. And again, thank you, Jerry, for being like my super duper ultra mega ghoul supporter right now. But my Patreon is in the description below if you feel so inclined. But no, you never have to do it. Just watching the videos and thumbsing them up is good enough for me. But yeah. Question of the day. Are any of you sick? Is it just me? Like, am I the only one with bad luck? Let me know if you are also sick, so we can just be sick and grumpy and in pain together, so we know that we're not the only ones. But as always, ghouls, my last video is on the top left. My next video will be on the bottom left. All my social medias are on the screen, as well as in the description box below. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.